أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم اخرجنا من ظلمات الوهم واكرمنا بنور الفهم اللهم افتح لنا باب رحمتك وانشر علينا من خزائن علومك يا أرحم الراحمين اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. My brothers, my sisters, Sayyid, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Tonight is the most difficult night for the lovers of the Ahlul Bayt. Those who love the Ahlul Bayt, those who love Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, those who respond to the divine command in the Quran when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala quoted our Prophet and said he wants nothing from us except al-mawaddata fil qurba, the love towards his near kin, his family. That in the heart of the believer is a fire for those who love Imam al-Hussein, for the murder of Abu Abdullah, for the massacre of him and his family, is a fire that never subsides. And Muharram, night by night, the fire builds up. And those of you here, I know you feel how the sky is in sorrow and the air is grieving. For tomorrow morning, Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam will watch as he gives Ali al-Akbar, will watch as Abu Fadl Abbas is cut into pieces in front of him. He will watch as the arrow pierces the neck of his newborn, thirsty, and he will be left alone. And one thing Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam says in his final words to Imam al-Sajjad before he leaves, as he says goodbye to his woman and says goodbye to the next Imam, he whispers in our fourth Imam's ear and he says, بلغ عني لشيعتي السلام. He said, send my Shia my salam. Those who are not here with me. He's saying salam to all of you. From Karbala, from 1,400 years ago, from those lonely sands, when he was alone and no one answered his call, he sent his salam to us. And we respond to him today and every day in his lessons that he provided for us on Ashura. For the Imam is not just any man, and he's not just a Khalifa. He's not someone who is just supposed to be in charge after the Prophet leaves. When you are going on holiday, you might leave a supervisor in charge in your place. If you're leaving your family, you might tell your son, your oldest son, take care of your mother and your siblings in my place. You leave someone there as a caretaker, but only for a specific function. So you might tell your brother to take care of your wife and children when you leave, masalan. And so far as much as you are a father, he is just to check up on them to make sure, are they okay, they have everything they need. At work, you might leave someone in your place and they only have the responsibility of what you do at work. But the person who replaces you at work doesn't usually go home to see your family and make sure that they're okay. He's just going to replace you at work. The person who you put in charge to take care of your family doesn't go to your work and try to replace everything that you do. No, he just takes care of your family. This is not a political issue for the Shia in which there is someone that's supposed to be in charge after the Prophet. This is a divine command from Allah, part of our theology, not of fiqh. It's not a political issue. This is Khalifatullah. He represents Allah in everything, not in a specific function. In all the names of Allah. وَعَلَّمَ آدَمَ الْأَسْمَاءَ كُلَّهَا. All the different names, from Al-Qawi, from Al-Muntaqim, from Ar-Rahman, from all the names that we find in the divine being are manifested in this perfect human being who is the representative of Allah, who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala expects to be the living, embodied form of this deen, and his main function is to bring us all along with him to be Khalifatullah. So when he comes and tells us, oh people, Allah created all of you so you may know him, and when you know him you worship him, the words of Abu Abdullah, and when you worship him you worship none other than him, then you understand what it means to be truly courageous, that it's a spiritual virtue, truly strong, a spiritual virtue, that when Abu Abdullah alayhi salam is fighting Karbala, and he's fighting and he comes back to his position and he says, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. That the courage that he has and the harmony that is within him, al-nafs al-mutma'innah, and the harmony that is within his camp, his students, we learn what it means to be a true human being aligned with my fitrah as insan, in contrast to the opposing camp, which is fragmented, which is lost in argumentation, who are fighting each other, the camp of the egos, the camp of looking out only for yourself, the camp of arguing who kills Abu Abdullah when he's alone on the ground. They're arguing who kills him. No one is man enough to approach him. Even in the final moment, they argue amongst themselves the manifestation of the hellfire. Nafsi, nafsi. Only looking out for themselves. And then they ask the Imam, what is Ma'rifatullah? That great divine project that we are here for? The whole reason that this creation exists to serve mankind so he may reach his goal of knowing Allah. وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. And as the Imam says, لِيَعْرِفُونَ. I did not create jinn or mankind except to worship me. The Imam says to know him. To know him is to worship him. Real knowledge, not in the books, as Imam Sadiq alayhi salam told Anwan, not in the books. Nur min Allah. يَقْذِفُهُ فِي قَلْبِ مَنْ يَشَاء. Enters into the heart of the human being. That wisdom that erupts from the heart onto the tongue. That our whole life journey, as much as one may read, and as powerful as one is, and as knowledgeable as one is with information, ultimately, it is a journey of the heart, that the only one who will approach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on that day, who will find salvation, إِلَّا مَنْ أَتَى اللَّهَ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ. This is what the whole journey is. Imam al-Hussein is telling us, in Mecca before he leaves, those who want to follow me, I'm going to be martyred. I know what will happen. There are two conditions. You must be ready to sacrifice your blood and yourself and your spirit and your soul. And you must be ready to meet Allah. مُوَطِّنًا عَلَى لِقَاءِ اللَّهِ نَفْسَهُ. Only those who have prepared themselves to meet God, who yearn for Allah, can be patient with me in this trial. And then he doesn't take names. He says, tomorrow morning, I'm leaving. فَلْيَرْحَلْ إِنِّي رَاحِلٌ مُصْبِحًا. I'm leaving tomorrow morning. You come or you don't come. He's giving you a final opportunity. This decree is alive until now, until tomorrow morning. Who leaves with me in the morning? So then, you look at Karbala and Ashura, not as a subjective event, not as a tragic story only, not only as a family affair, not only as the son of Rasulullah is massacred, but Khalifatullah is sending us a divine message that we must apply in our daily lives. And his final letter, he said, that final piece of advice that we must apply in our daily lives to be truly Husseini, كأن الدنيا لم تكن وكأن الآخرة لم تزل. It's as if dunya never happened. And the akhirah is all there ever was. The akhirah happening now. He's living in it now. He sees the beauty of Allah now. He sees his place in paradise now. He shows the companions their place in Jannah now. He shows them, look at the heavens. They're living in akhirah already. They are joyous. They are yearning. How can you be joyous? How can you compete with each other? Who goes out to fight first? How can you compete with each other? Who goes out to receive martyrdom first? They have a different idea of what this battle is. This battle was the battle of before the warriors and the courageous. It's the battle of the lovers And these are not my words, my brothers and sisters. These are not words of poetry. These are the words of Ali bin Abi Talib. Imam Ali alayhi salam, on his way back from Siffin, it is recorded, he passes by Karbala. He unmounts his horse. He takes the sand. He smells it. He says, Ha huna masari'ul ushaq. Here is where the lovers will battle. The lovers. He said this. He prayed 2 rak'ahs in Karbala. He knew. This is important. How much love is mentioned. Imam al-Hussein told Abu Fadl Abbas, delay them until tomorrow. On a day like today, he said this. Delay them until tomorrow. For tonight I wish to spend it in worship. Allah knows. Inni uhib kitabillah. He loves the book of Allah. He loves it. I love to read the book of Allah. I love to pray and worship Allah. Allah knows that I love the book. This idea of love within Karbala, yearning, wanting to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is not always acknowledged. It's made to seem something that is only mystical. But it is there. It is in the books. Actually, Sayyid ibn Tawus, in his great book about the Waqi'at al-Taf, where he writes about what happened in Karbala, in the Muqaddimah, in the introduction, he speaks about the awliya of Allah, and he writes poetry about Karbala, and he says, were it not for the sunnah of the Ahlul Bayt, and not for the book of Allah, and that we will grieve and wear black, we would congratulate each other, and we would be joyous on this day, for they have reached their final goal and the ultimate destination, the highest ranks of Shahada. We cry for ourselves, he says. We cry for ourselves that we missed the opportunity to be of those in the highest rank. That what happened on that day was Imam al-Hussein's greatest achievement and an eternal lesson on what sacrifice for Allah truly means. And you can see this in his final words. As he is being cut, as he is surrounded, and there is no one left, and there are arrows in his body, and poison in his veins, and he is paralyzed, and thirsty, and his lips are dry, and his sword is becoming heavy, and he's trying to defend himself, but there are so many around him, he calls out to Allah in a calm voice. And what does he say? He doesn't ask Allah to help him. He doesn't say, Ya Allah, destroy the enemies. He says, Allahumma muta'ali al-makan, azim al-jabarut, shadid al-mihal, ghaniyun an al-khalaiq, azim al-kibriya, qadirun ala ma tasha. He's praising Allah. He's loving Allah. He's visiting Allah in dunya for the final time. He's saying the most beautiful words, glorifying God, that there is none like you. How glorified is your station? How glorified are you, Ya Rabb? You who doesn't need anyone. You who are above everything. Imagine as he's being slain, he's saying these words. Allahu Akbar. He's showing with his last act that this is for Tawheed beyond all. Munajat. Munajat. More than dua. Dua, nida is for one who is far. Dua is when you ask for something. Sometimes someone wants to go to a king to ask him for something. Sometimes you go to visit the king because you just love the king. You want to visit him. Imam al-Hussein is speaking his final words in munajat, in a whisper. Intimate conversation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Speaking to him his final words. That he has chosen to meet Allah. As we said in the great narration, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had sent down victory onto Abu Abdullah alayhi salam until it was between the heavens and the earth. Then he was given the choice. Do you wish to have a military victory, or do you wish to meet Allah? And he said, liqa'ullah. Fakhtara liqa'ullah. He wants to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Beyond all, beyond everything. He's finally coming to the place that he had waited for his whole life to be reunited with his grandfather and his father and his mother and his brother. And that's why in the dua, he thanks Allah for this trial. As he is being slain, he thanks Allah for something he calls Hasanul Bala. Hasanul Bala. Bala means tribulation. You know what Hasan means. How can he look at the beauty of tribulation? How can he look at the goodness of tribulation? What is the idea of Hasanul Bala? Some people, when they have trials, they either reject the trial, they'll say, Ya Allah, why me? And they fail. Or they'll be patient with the trial. But then the third level is to find beauty in the trial. When you see that this is what Allah wants of me, even if it is difficult, even if it means I am to be slain and my woman taken captive, the pleasure of Allah is my pleasure. What Allah wants to see, I will do. Ya Allah, as he holds Ali al-Asghar, Ya Allah, I can only withstand this because you're watching me. Because you can see me. That's all that gives him peace. A true muwahhid that understands Hasanul Bala. This is not just a figure of speech. This is how Imam Hussein looks at this divine opportunity, the highest opportunity, to fulfill the mission of his grandfather. So when they take Sayyidah Zainab alayhi salam, and Ibn Ziyad asks her, how do you find what Allah did to your brother? And she says, Ma ra'aytu illa jamila. I only saw beauty. I saw nothing but beauty. And she really means that. Yes, she cries, her heart grieves, she's in so much pain, but she understands what Abu Abdullah alayhi salam understood. Hasanul Bala. That there is great beauty in this sacrifice. In this sacrifice we see what the spiritual courage, what fearlessness, what love, what loving and yearning for Allah truly mean at its highest point. And so I wanted to share with you a real life story of someone that I know, on how Karbala constantly reimagines itself throughout humanity. For those who are willing to see, we see how much the Shia are giving of themselves today. We see how much they give. We see that no one sacrifices as much as them, and no one stands up to the tyrants as much as they do, and the whole world can see that now. And it all stems from here. It all stems from Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. And so, there is a great lady that is very close to my family, a very spiritual woman. And she had lost one of her sons in Syria 10 years ago. He was defending Sayyidah Zainab's shrine. His older brother, Muhammad Ali, he was her last remaining son, and he took care of the family, and he's married and he has children. And when the war occurred in Lebanon 2 years ago, he made a great decision. He was the one who's taking care of his family. He always stayed at home where he'd sleep in his brother's bed. He would not accept to sleep in any other bed except his brother's bed. When Sayyid was martyred in 2024, he couldn't accept to do nothing. So he went to defend his land to the border in South Lebanon. And the last time his mother heard from him was on a phone call. And he was speaking to her with a very loud voice. And she said, Mama, why are you shouting? And he said, because they're outside and I want them to hear me. Because mother, if they go to the next village, I want you to know that there's no way that I'm still on this earth, because I will not let them pass. That was the last time she heard from him. After a few days, she had a dream. And her dreams are always very real. She had a dream that he was martyred. So she woke up, she grieved for him. And then she told the whole family that Muhammad Ali is martyred. Now there's no confirmation, but she believes what she believes. The end of the war came in November. And no one heard anything from him. Not a trace. No one knew where he was. There was not even a body. Nothing. No one heard from him. No one saw him. Nothing. His children would ask us, where is he? And when we tell them that he's in Jannah, I remember his son would say, why? How come no one else's Baba is in Jannah? Why only mine? What if I wanted to be here? And we tried to explain to him slowly. We called him the Fatimi Shaheed because he had no grave. So we couldn't take him. We couldn't take the children to visit their father. We decided to go to Mashhad in December of that year. My whole family went to Mashhad with his family. We went to Imam Rida so that we can heal our hearts. I remember I was in the sahan of Imam Raza alayhi salam, and I was sitting down with my daughter, and then they were looking at me. So I took my daughter off my lap and I put her down because I felt shy. But then his daughter, she's 8 years old, she came, she said, Ammo, can you put me on your shoulders and run around the shrine? Because Baba used to run around the shrine when we come to Imam Rida. I said, yeah. I put her on my shoulders, and then his son Ali said, can I also? So I was holding them, they were laughing and I was crying. Because I'm looking at my daughters, how come they get to have their dad? And these orphans don't. And there are so many of them. There are thousands of them. And all their fathers are lions and heroes. And it's a amana on our necks. When we went back to Lebanon and the withdrawal happened, it was Shahr Ramadan, it was February. And then we could go into the southern villages. So everyone started to go into the southern village to look for the bodies of their loved ones. So the family was looking for Muhammad Ali's body. They looked everywhere. They couldn't find. They kept looking, they couldn't find. Again, she had a dream. She dreamt of the house at the end of the village, that he was in the house. In the morning she went there. There was no house there, it was only stones and rubble. She walked, and then she smelt a fragrance coming from the ground. And my wife smelt it. She told me, I could smell it fresh. She said, Muhammad Ali is here. And no one knew how she knew. But she said, don't use machines. She wants to take the stones with her hands. She started to remove the stones. Everyone started to remove the stones with her until she found the green corner of her prayer mat that she gave him before he left. They removed, then they saw his body, his skeleton, in his uniform in sujood for 5 months. He was buried under the ground in sujood like his master Ali bin Abi Talib. He died whilst in salat, and he was buried in this position, bowing down to Allah. He was not given a burial like Abu Abdullah alayhi salam. He stayed for 5 months under the ground in sujood to Allah. His skeleton. She said, I want to bury him on the night of his master. So we waited until the 19th of Ramadan. And then we brought his body to the grave of his brother, because he always wanted to be with his brother. So they buried him on top of his brother. And then she stood above his grave. And there's a video of this, and it's so powerful because I felt like I've seen this scene before. She stood above the grave and she wore a black abaya and she buried her son, and she said, Aradita ya Rab, khudh hatta tarda. Allahumma taqabbal minna hadha al-qurban. Echoing the words of Sayyidah Zainab alayhi salam, and I saw that woman is the secret of the victory of the Shia, because Sayyidah Zainab alayhi salam lives in all of them, and that's what makes us so strong. I remember on Laylatul Qadr that year, I was doing the a'mal, then I went to visit the Sayyid's grave at the end of the night, and then I went to visit the Shuhada. And I remember I used to wish I only knew one shaheed. I always used to wish when I first went to Lebanon, even my whole life. I mean, you guys all know, anyone who used to love Sayyid, the way that he raised us, you grow up and you pray, Ya Allah, qatlan fi sabilik ya Rab. Let me give my life for you, Lord. I want to prove myself to you. I want to be like Abu Abdullah alayhi salam. Only the Shi'i is this way. Only the Shi'i dreams, inshallah, one day I can give my neck. So I can feel what Abu Abdullah felt. And only the Shi'i is like this. When I first saw the Kaaba, I prayed for this. I prayed for Allah to take my life for him. When I first went to Ziyarah, this is what I prayed for. It was always my dua. That night, I was walking in the graveyard. I went to all the graves, Muhammad Ali's grave and all the other shuhada, so many of my friends. And I saw, subhanallah, I used to wish only one shaheed. I know so many now. And it hurts way more than I ever thought it would. But then I changed my dua for the first time. And I said, Ya Allah, please grant me a long life. Because I need to carry on and hold what they left behind. Then, at the end of that, inshallah, just like in that video where the young boy comes to Sayyid al-Qa'id and says, I want to be a shaheed. And he says, you want to be a shaheed? You must grow and study and work and serve Islam. Then when you're 85, 90 years old, you become shaheed. Subhanallah, who knew he was talking about himself? In this is a great lesson for us, my brothers and sisters. We are the ones that inherit this amana. I must carry it for our brothers and our sisters around the world. I tell you, the wilayah of Ali bin Abi Talib is beyond color, beyond language, beyond culture. I am closer with all of you than I am to any Lebanese person, because I understand and you understand that we are all followers of Imam Ali alayhi salam. Our deen is so powerful when we do not allow it to be lost to nationalism, to racism, to culture wars. When we truly adhere to the command of Allah, akramakum andallahi atqakum, the most noble of you are the most God conscious of you. He's given us everything we need. And we may arrive at a point that we can also be students of the school of Karbala. That we can also be students of Ashura, the way Zuhair and Habib and Abis and John and Hur, the way they were. And there is nothing to deprive us of this. On this final night, when Abu Abdullah alayhi salam gathered his companions and told them, leave. And they said, Anabqa ba'dak? You want us to remain after you? La tayyib Allah lana al-aisha ba'dak. There is no life after you, Ya Hussein. There's nothing after you. Wallahi, if they are to kill me and burn me and throw my ashes into the wind, only to revive me and kill me and burn me and throw my ashes into the wind, and to do this 70 times, 1,000 times, ما تركتك يا حسين. I will never leave you, Ya Abu Abdullah. صلى الله عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي يا ابن رسول الله. صلى الله عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله يا مظلوم يا غريب يا عطشان إمام al-Hussein stood alone in Karbala. No one left by his side. Habib was killed. Akbar was on the ground. Abbas had no eyes and no arms. And the children were screaming, Al-Atash, Al-Atash. Imam al-Hussein called out, هل من ناصر ينصرنا هل من معين يعيننا. Is there no one there to be with the family of Rasulullah? Abu Abdullah stood alone in front of 30,000. He mounted his horse with his hand on his sword. And then he heard the voice of Zainab, Mahlan, Mahlan, Yabna Zahra. Don't go, Ya Hussein. Come down from your horse. I have an amana to give you. Imam al-Hussein stepped down from the horse. Zainab came into his chest. He embraced his sister. Ya Zainab, why are you wearing the clothes of our mother? What is the amana, my sister? She said, show me your neck. Show me your chest. He uncovered his neck and uncovered his chest. She kissed him on his chest. And then she kissed Abu Abdullah's neck. And she said, Mother Ya Zahra, I have fulfilled the amana. Ya Hussein, our mother told me to kiss your chest because that is where the hooves of the horses will crush your ribs and crush your chest. And she told me to kiss your neck, for that is where the dagger will lay. I will miss you, my brother. On this day I lose my grandfather Rasulullah. On this day I lose my father Ali bin Abi Talib. On this day I lose my mother Fatima Zahra. And today I lose Al-Mujtaba. After you, Ya Hussein, I remain with the orphans. I remain with Sukaina. And then they heard a sound, the cries of a baby, a thirsty infant child. The only response to Hal min Nasirin Yansuruna was a baby's cry. Zainab took the baby and brought him to Abu Abdullah. Before you go, Ya Hussein, this baby has had no water to drink. Perhaps you can get him some water. Imam al-Hussein took the small baby. Imam al-Hussein took the small baby into his hands. Allahu Akbar. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. He took the baby into his hands. He went to the army and he held the baby into the sky. If you will not give me water, why would you deprive this child of water? And the army began to dispute. And Umar ibn Sa'd told Karbala to aim his arrow towards the child. Ali al-Asghar was in the hands of his father. When the baby is in the hands of the father, the baby feels safe. The father will never drop his child. The father will protect his child. The father will save his child. But Imam al-Hussein had to watch as an arrow was shot towards Asghar, and the arrow pierced his small neck, and he flapped his arms like a slaughtered bird, and his blood spilled onto Abu Abdullah, and he threw the blood into the sky. Ya Allah, Ya Rabbi, Ya Rabbi. Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein.